Hey baby girl, today I'm going to talk to you about dreams and why it's important to hold on to your dreams and make them come true no matter what. Enjoy the story, it's going to be very interesting. I believe that my fascination with having a modified Jeep Wrangler started with this very picture. Credit to the photographer and the owner of the Jeep who inspired me to go after my dreams of owning a Jeep Wrangler similar to this very beast. After weeks of research, I found this very vehicle in the showroom of the dealership. This is a 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon modified. This Jeep was perfect. There was nothing that I didn't like about it. It was color matched. The inside was Rubicon red. It was a 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. What more could I have asked for in a Jeep? I opened the door. I crawled inside, closed the door, and I put my hands on the steering wheel. This was the Jeep Wrangler that I wanted, or so I thought. The dealership had modified this Jeep. They had put a few things that made it look a lot more aggressive. First, they had raised it, I think 2.5 inches or 3 inches, with Fox shocks. That was incredible. That's what I wanted. The front bumper was not plastic, it was steel with a winch. The rock rails, they were steel. And the tires, they were very aggressive. Exactly what I was looking for in a Jeep. After a day or two of thinking about it, I realized that yes, I do want a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 2021. I want it to look aggressive. But there was something that I didn't like. And that took a while. What I realized was it was the color that I didn't like. Yeah, the color. Of all things, I didn't like the color. It wasn't me, it was color matched from top to bottom, and I didn't like that part either. Was I being picky? Yes, I was. Outside of the showroom floor, right by the door, they had this Jeep. This was gecko green, but the modifications came from American Expedition Vehicles, or also known as AEV. These parts, they're virtually indestructible. And again, what more could I have ever wanted from a Jeep Wrangler with AEV parts? And all the amazing modification done to this Jeep made it look as aggressive as a Jeep Wrangler could possibly be. In being picky, what I realized was that the bumper, the front bumper, and the lights, and the setup, that was not me. I also did not like the wheels. They were color matched to the body and the fenders, and that wasn't me either. So what did I want? I went all the way back to 1991. I went back to the parking lot of Floyd Lamb State Park when I saw my first Jeep Wrangler, black and red. What I wanted was a Jeep Wrangler bone stock from the factory with no modifications. And I was going to place the modifications in and around the vehicle that fit my needs. Little did I know it, this was the Jeep that I was looking for. Here is when the story becomes a little bit interesting. What happened was that I ripped the tire of my Jeep Wrangler Sport 2021 when I did my very first trail at Red Rock Canyon. I didn't fix the tire right away. I had it for a few weeks. I believe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Eventually I said, okay, I need to take this tire and fix it in case I have another flat, and then I will have 2 bad tires. So I took the vehicle to the Jeep dealership and I walked around as usual. I did not have a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon in mind to purchase. As I was speaking to the sales associates, I was speaking to the parts department, and I went outside and I spoke to a gentleman. As I spoke to him, I said, you know, I would really like to have a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon that's bone stock. And I would trade this one in. I was talking about my Jeep Wrangler Sport. And I said, I would like to trade this one in for a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. So the man listened. He said, you know, I have what you're looking for in the back. The moment that I saw this Jeep, I said, it's mine. The closer we got to it, I said, it is my Jeep. And I told him, I said, I will buy this. I will definitely buy this. But this is me getting a little bit ahead of myself in the story. Now, at the same time, I would like to connect this particular story to the rest of what's about to happen. Now, I was very happy with my Jeep Wrangler Sport. However, when I drove it to Lake Mead and I recorded it, and I came home and I watched the footage, I didn't like how subtle the Jeep looked. It looked very innocent. It looked like any Jeep Wrangler out there. So let's break it down a little bit. The front bumper is plastic and there is no winch connected to the bumper. So that means it will be a lot harder for me to get pulled out or pull someone else out in case either I or someone else gets stuck on the trail. In the beginning, I thought these rock rails were just steps to help a passenger or a driver get inside the Jeep. When I took it to the trail at Red Rock Canyon, which was rated at 6 or 7 out of 10, I realized how important it is to have rock rails protecting my doors. Although they took a beating, they were hardly scratched. But I wanted something more. I realized that taking my Jeep Wrangler on the trail, and if it's a 6 or a 7 again, would require me to have steel bumpers to protect my vehicle, which my Jeep Wrangler Sport did not provide me with. I've always been fascinated with big tires on a Jeep Wrangler. However, on the trail, what I realized was that, yes, here, big tires do matter. And what I learned was that having big tires and smaller wheels would give me the safety that I need to go over rocks, even if my tires rub against rocks, the tires would be able to hold. I wasn't crazy about getting a Jeep Wrangler with 40-inch tires. What I wanted was a slight upgrade from 33s to 35s. When I found the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon of my dreams, it had everything that I wanted. It was factory. The Jeep was lifted. It had 35-inch tires. The front steel bumper was there with a winch. But the most wonderful thing was that the inside is also gecko green. This is where the story becomes a little bit complicated. This was about 2 days before Christmas, and I was at the dealership speaking to the sales associates and so many others. And this was also a time of COVID, so things were a little bit too hectic. But I wanted this Jeep really bad. This was my Jeep, and I was not going to let this slip out of my hands. And more importantly, I told your mom that I will not let this year end until I have my Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 2021. A few weeks ago, before I found this Jeep, I spoke with the sales associate who helped me with my Jeep Wrangler Sport. And I told him that I was ready to trade it in for a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. And I told him what I was going to put down. The sales associate, he told me this. He said, "I'm afraid for you. I'm scared for you." I said, "Why?" "I don't know if it's going to happen." Inside, I said, "Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? You don't know me." But on the outside, I just laughed it off and got back in my vehicle and came home. The day that I was supposed to make the deal, trade in my Jeep Wrangler Sport for a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, a few things happened. First, I drove the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon around the block, and it seemed like the most perfect Jeep. It was our Jeep. And I spoke with the sales associate. He said, "Okay, I will go and wash the vehicle, bring it here for you." As we were doing the paperwork, the initial paperwork, the man who signed my papers in the office, he came to me and said, "It's a little late. I could sell you this Jeep, but what if things don't work out and you have to bring it back in and we have to take it back from you? So can you give me a day or two and I will get back to you? I will make sure that everything happens the way you want it to." Now, a day or two passed and he still hadn't contacted me. But what I saw on his face was that he had doubt, he had uncertainty on his face, because when we purchased the Jeep Wrangler Sport, we finished the paperwork very late at night. And this was after they had closed. And now I'm thinking he's telling me that the bank is not in session and giving me all these excuses. Why is that? So he said, "Give me a few days, a day or two." So I gave him that time and I called, but he did not return my call, even though I left a message. I wanted to speak with the sales associate. He had given me his phone number. I called him. I believe I even texted him a few times until I got a hold of him. I said, "What's going on?" "Well, we're still working on it," is what he said. And I'm thinking, what is it that you're working on? Is someone else interested in this vehicle? So he said, "We're still working on it. Give us some time." I said, "Okay." The next day, I believe, I get 2 emails. They wanted me to go to the dealership and meet with the sales associate. So I texted the sales associate and I said, "Okay, I'll be there at 4:30 or I think 3:30. We were coming back from Mount Charleston. And I said, thank you for the emails. The sales associate told me that he did not send me those emails. So now I'm even more confused. The person who was supposed to help me to sign off on all the papers, he wanted a day or two. He had the time. Now he's not answering. The sales associate is giving me all these excuses, even after I had received 2 emails from him. So I believe it was on Christmas Day, or before Christmas Day, a day before Christmas Day, I went to the Jeep dealership. And I looked around, I looked over the wall to see if my Jeep is still there. It was there. It was definitely there. And one thing I forgot to mention was that the sales associate said, sorry, I didn't return your messages because 10 of our associates, they've come down with COVID. And there's only a few of us who are working at the dealership, and it's very busy. After Christmas, I went to the dealership because I was confused and they were confusing me. And I spoke to an old man at the front desk. And I spoke to him. I said, have you guys spoken to these banks that you said you would, and have they answered? He said, well, we're still working on one. The other said no. I said, by when can I have an answer? He said, well, we'll try by this afternoon. I called and there was no answer. So I went down there. And at this point, I'm relentless and I'm restless and I want this Jeep and I know it's mine. But these people are putting obstacles in front of me and they're preventing me from purchasing my Jeep. So when I went down there, this old man came over from the front desk by the front door and he said this. He said, well, the bank said no. At this point, I'm not taking no for an answer. So I thought about it for a second, and then I said, why? He said this, it's too much of a vehicle. I'm thinking to myself, what? It's too much of a vehicle? So I asked, what do you mean? The man said, well, it's too much of a vehicle. It's too much of a price. You don't know me. You've only seen half of my cards on the table and you think I'm down and out. That's what I'm thinking to myself. How could you assume such a thing? Now, if I were to complain to Jeep, what would happen to this guy? But I'm not that kind of a person. I wasn't offended. I needed to find a way. I had a way. So he says, again, well, it's too much of a Jeep. Too much of a Jeep? Does that mean that I can't afford it? Are you assuming that this is out of my range, out of my price range? Or I'm too poor? What are you implying? What are you saying? What are you suggesting? So I went home with that. And I thought about it. And then I went back to the dealership with your mom. I spoke to a gentleman with whom I would say I'm friends with at the dealership. And he works behind the front desk. And I spoke to him and I said, look, I want to buy this Jeep Wrangler Rubicon today. Please help me because no one else is and I'm confused. They're confused. I want this today. And then he said, well, how much are you willing to put down? And I told him how much. He said, well, that's good. But the bank said no because you purchased the Jeep Wrangler Sport and it was very expensive, so it's not possible. Can you give us more to put down? And your money will, yes, it'll go to principal. It will go towards your vehicle. I said, okay, let's strategize. We had a conversation. And I gave him my proposal. He said, give me 20 minutes. At this point, your mom was hungry because you were kicking a little bit, I think. So I took your mom to a dim sum restaurant. We had some Chinese food, steamed Chinese food, which is very close to the dealership. And as we're eating, the gentleman calls me and he said, the bank said yes. And I told your mom. She was very happy. I was very happy. And I'm thinking, I knew they were going to say yes. And they said yes. All these obstacles that these people put in front of me, I didn't care. I knew that there was a way. And I had that way. And this was our vehicle. And I was going to own it. So I went back to the dealership with that same gentleman and we signed some more papers. I went inside, signed many more papers well before closing time. And when I finished and your mom and I walked out, a lot of the sales associates clapped for me. They were really, really happy. So was I. I passed by the front desk and I passed by that old man who told me it was too much of a Jeep. His head was down. He was looking down while everyone else screamed and shouted, "Congratulations, congratulations." And I said, thank you. And your mom is saying thank you to everybody. And we're excited. This old man is looking down at his shoes. And he said the words, congratulations, congratulations. The same man that told me it was too much of a Jeep congratulated me on owning that Jeep. What's the moral of the story? Here it is. If I hadn't gone after my dreams, I would have never had the Jeep. Don't listen to simple-minded people. Don't listen to those who want to destroy your dreams. Your dreams are your dreams. Believe in your dreams. Go after them. Be patient. Be persistent. And don't ever give up until you've achieved your dreams.